DR Horton offers up a lot of homes at a good price where they're not requiring a lot of earnest money down and usually delivering up good financing incentives. The thing is, a lot of their communities aren't cookie cutter, despite their homes feeling sometimes a little cookie cutter. So today we're going to be talking about the DR Horton communities in the South Denver area. Hey everyone, it's Alyson Wall with Live South Denver, your real estate strategist and realtor for the South Denver area. DR Horton has been around for a long time. They're also known by the name Melody Homes. So I can go into a home that is a resale on the market and go, oh my goodness, this is an old DR Horton home. And my clients will be like, really? I don't think of this as DR Horton. I'm like, no, not today. It's not very different. But they used to be more akin to maybe a Richmond style home. Lots of selection, lots of choice, a lot of different exterior types of the home, a lot of cabinet selection for the buyer. We'll even see real oak floors in some of these older homes by DR Horton. Today, very different. Now, I will tell you, most builders don't even do real wood floors here in Colorado anymore. It's so dry and everyone loves LVP. But DR has gone to being nearly 100% spec. There is a lot of continuity, of choice, of color, style, and it makes things very streamlined for them. And that means savings for you. And they do pass on those savings. If we look here in the Denver area and compare a DR Horton home to, say, homes where you can actually customize everything, we see that the average price per square foot for the above grade finish space on a DR Horton home is about $274 a square foot, where with the customized homes, it's $368 a square foot. And here's the thing, the DR Horton homes are smaller, the customized homes are generally bigger. So what we typically would see in the market is that with a larger home, the price per square foot goes down. With a small home, the price per square foot goes up because there's only so little you can eventually pay for a home, right? So you're usually paying more per square foot on a smaller home. So when you factor that in too, you realize just what cost savings DR Horton is paying on by streamlining this process. In South Denver, DR Horton has 3 communities. They have one in Crystal Valley Ranch, Trails at Crowfoot, and Looking Glass. As a high-level overview to these, you'll see that Crystal Valley Ranch is much farther to the south, down in the edge of Castle Rock, where Castle Rock barely is Castle Rock anymore. It's way on the south edge. This community has new build homes still going on by other builders than DR Horton. You'll also find existing homes that range anywhere from 1 to almost 20 years old. This has been a long, slow build out in this area. Trails at Crowfoot is in Parker, up along Crowfoot Valley Road. Everything in here is new construction. They only started building in here around 2021. And Looking Glass is also in Parker, just across the street along Crowfoot Valley Road. Also, all new construction, very early phase 1. There is a lot more to come in Looking Glass. Both Trails at Crowfoot and Looking Glass have several builders in the community. It's not just a DR Horton community. Let's get started with Crystal Valley Ranch. So they have 6 floor plans in this community that they are selling. 4 of these are 2-story, leaving 2 as their ranch plans. If you were to buy a home with them today, you'll find they are currently building over here on the very east edge of the community. Now, part of that is good because building on this far edge means that some of the lots do have views. Now, Crystal Valley Ranch, it is in a valley, so there really are not mountain views, but you are somewhat in a bowl. There are ridge lines, there can be some trees, so there is something interesting to look at, which when people find out that having a true mountain view can be very pricey, their views get downgraded to at least just something maybe other than the backyard of another neighbor, and this can certainly suffice. Crystal Valley is a very pretty area. At the time of recording, this community has 26 homes left for sale. They have 10 currently available with 16 that are coming. They're in queue, yet to be dug, yet to be released. But that means there is still some opportunity for you to get in here if you like this location and the perks this community offers. Now, some of the things that set Crystal Valley Ranch apart from the other 2 DR Horton communities, first, distance, right? When we see it on the map, we see just how much farther away it is from Denver Tech Center, downtown, even where the other communities are. There's a lot more commute involved if you're going to live down in Crystal Valley Ranch. Also, the fact that just getting off of I-25 and commuting into Crystal Valley is quite a drive. Now, there is going to be a new interchange going in right at the entrance to this Montane Crystal Valley Ranch community that has just started construction, so we got to give it some time, but that is going to shorten the commute a little bit, but not the north-south component of that. You are still hauling up I-25 if you are a regular to get into the tech center, downtown, even to the airport. On the amenities side of things, they have a pool, they have a clubhouse, they have a fitness center. So this community is rich with opportunities for you to get your workout without having to leave the neighborhood. Of course, there are trails as well. And then if you have a family or you love to swim, you just want to have access to water for our warm summer days here, you've got it inside the neighborhood. Something unique that DR Horton is doing in this community is providing the rear landscaping in addition to the front landscaping, so big cost savings. So Castle Rock has instituted water-wise restrictions around landscaping. I've done a video on this. Aurora did the same thing. When they did that, they are incentivizing the builders to adhere to those, go ahead and install the landscaping. It makes it a little easier on everyone else too. So there's kind of a bonus both ways. The builder gets incentivized, you also get it included. They're rolling it into the home price, but you don't have to come in and deal with figuring out where 500 square feet of grass fits, how many plants, all the drip lines. And Castle Rock is coming through and they test the soil. It's part of their inspections now. They put in probes through all of the soil. It has to go down at least 8 inches to make sure that this grass is going to take and grow and you don't have trouble later. So they're very meticulous about all of it, which is nice for you. So DR is paying for that grass and landscaping and rocks and all of that to be put in the back, as well as the front, where in most communities elsewhere, you're at most getting the front yard landscaping. HOA dues in Crystal Valley are pretty good. They're under $100 a month at just $85 a month. And for this particular community inside Crystal Valley, the property tax, so good, 0.5124%. To have a 0.5% tax rate on a new construction home is unheard of. Unheard of. Guys, I wish I could put anyone and everyone into new construction virtually all day long, because the taxes, people complain about them. They're 1%, 1.1, 1.2, 1.2 and change. The highest in the Denver metro area is 1.4. To have a 0.5% tax rate, that is what people who've been living in their home since the 70s have. With all of that property tax goodness, you may be thinking, oh my gosh, Crystal Valley Ranch, it's the spot for me. The one thing to know is that it is generally the most expensive spot within the DR Horton communities in South Denver, and that is because they offer the largest lots here. With it being so far south, there is room to kind of spread your wings a little bit in Castle Rock, and they did. These lots tend to run deeper, a little wider. There are some open space opportunities, and so you're not getting a 5,500 square foot lot. Generally, you're getting something that might be 10,000 square feet even. They're a good size. I have clients who looked down here and we were looking at a 1/4 acre lot, even with neighbors behind. Really good space. So know that you're usually paying a little more because of the elbow room in this location. Okay, we're headed up the road to Trails at Crowfoot, into Parker, up Crowfoot Valley Road. So Trails at Crowfoot has been around since 2021. I, in fact, had clients who built the very first home with DR Horton in here. Now, this location, Trails at Crowfoot, offers one more floor plan. So we have 7 floor plan options in Trails at Crowfoot. That is 5 2-story options with still 2 ranch options in here. At the time of recording, they had 9 homes available with dozens yet still to break ground, so plenty of options yet to come. They are currently building in this section of the map, this corner of the neighborhood. They are not far from the town park. It's pretty quiet and removed from the town park, so I don't think you're going to be disturbed by the noise too much. Several of the streets they're building along now are kind of main through streets, so if you do not want to be on one, you're going to need to be selective about when and where you build. Aim for something that's a little off the main road. I always think that's better for resale anyway. Anything that's got some good road noise or heavy traffic, it's a little bit harder to resell just because people are always thinking about, well, will someone speed down the road and hit my car if it's parked? Will they hit my kid, family member, etc.? So the farther you can get off of a main neighborhood road, usually the better it is for resale. The unique attributes to the trails at Crowfoot community are that it is farther north, right? So you're getting out of having such a long commute to get into the tech center, airport, downtown. You are off of I-25, so you still have to get over to I-25 to head north. So I don't know how much time you're really going to cut off depending on traffic, maybe 10 minutes at best some days. But it is still, for some people, a really important factor because that I-25 traffic, if you get into a snowstorm, you get behind a jackknifed truck, that stuff doesn't move. When you're farther north on side roads, you have a lot of options to get around. And that, for some people, is really, really important. I know I don't like being stuck on I-25 and having nowhere to go. You do have a pool, you have trails, you have access to the park in this neighborhood, so you do have amenities. And price-wise, Trails at Crowfoot shakes out to usually be the most affordable of the 3 DR Horton communities here in the South Denver area. So big plus in that column. Now, the HOA dues here are highest of all 3 communities at $100 a month, and the property taxes here, while not the highest of all 3 communities, are still more than double what you would have down in Crystal Valley Ranch. They are 1.11%. Now, if you're comparing property tax rates across multiple new builds, these numbers aren't shocking. Everyone is in that 1% plus range, like I mentioned earlier. But when you're comparing one neighborhood to another and you've got more than double, all of a sudden the property tax piece comes into play pretty heavy and can be a perk or a downside. All right, let's scoot just a little bit up the road over to Looking Glass. Now, Looking Glass is offering 2 different collections. They have the same collections that we're seeing in Crystal Valley Ranch and Trails at Crowfoot, and a different collection that's a little bit narrower, feels more narrow and tall. So between these 2, we've got 11 different floor plans to choose from over here in Looking Glass. In the more narrow collection at the time of recording, they had 15 homes available with 44 sitting in queue waiting to be dug. So they certainly have a lot of opportunity, a lot of production yet to come. In that wider collection, where you can also find the similar homes in Trails and down in Crystal Valley, they have 10 homes available now with 32 still yet to come out of permits and go in the ground for production. When you look on this map, where DR Horton is building here is in the area marked the Fields. Now, all of what you see on this map is just phase 1 of Looking Glass. There is so much land development going on, pushing further west, and we are so excited to see what is coming. Lennar should be coming back in. DR Horton will hopefully get another phase. And as we push west, we kind of go up in terrain. Not kind of, we do go up in terrain. So we're expecting to see more view lots available. And even in what we have had down here in this phase 1, we have still seen lots with mountain views. So it should just get better and better and better with time. Now, unique attributes to Looking Glass. They are the farthest north by just a smidge, so I'm not sure it makes a ton of difference. They're in a community that is going to have more mountain views. So anytime you get in a community where you have elevation of home price, it lifts everyone, right? The water, the tide is lifting all boats. So I really see there being some good ROI, some good value lift in this community. We are already seeing that homes here are not the least expensive, which sometimes happens when your community is the newest. The homes generally cost the least. But that's not been the case in Looking Glass, and that is in part because of the terrain. There is a lot of opportunity for walkout, garden level, open space, a hint of a view somewhere, and so you put all those things together and it lifts and elevates the price of the home. So in order of price, we see that Crystal Valley has been the most expensive currently for most homes, not all and always, then Looking Glass, and Trails at Crowfoot. You can certainly find a Looking Glass home that beats out a Crystal Valley home because of finishes, lot, open space, kind of mixing all those things together. One of the unique things DR Horton is doing in Looking Glass as well is that they are including excavated basements as standard. That is not always the case across the board for DR Horton, and I'll say it's not always the case for other builders either. A lot of times you'll see that they put the house on crawl space, and then if you want them to excavate the basement, you have to pay for that. Now, with DR Horton speccing all of their homes, the fact that they're automatically including the basement doesn't mean you're getting it for free. You're paying for it, you just don't know the price. But it's there. You don't have to swap out or wait or go, well, I like that house, but it didn't have a basement, so now I don't want it. I have to wait till you release one in another month or 6 weeks. It's just there and done. Where there are certain other builders in some of these communities where you have to pay a lot of money to have the fully excavated basement. And their price point really is more than DR Horton's is anyway. So it is good to see that you've already got that space built into the house. The HOA fee in this community is the lowest of all the communities. It's just $50 a month. That is absolutely in large part tied to the fact that Looking Glass has no amenities. There is no clubhouse, there is no pool, there are just trails. There may be some benches set along the trails, but that is it. No fitness center, nothing else other than just access to enjoy the space in the community. For some people, that's awesome. People want that. There are lots of people who will never go to the pool, would never use a fitness center that is shared by the neighbors, don't want the clubhouse, the maintenance, and so that $50 is money well spent to just maintain the common area. Now, the property taxes are the highest of the three communities over here in Looking Glass at 1.19%. So they're gonna make you pay somehow, right? And this is the newest community, and so we just do find the property taxes go up with the newness of the community as they're taking on debt to develop the space. Across the board, at least in the South Denver area, generally the largest homes are their best-selling floor plans. So we're talking the Hennessy, the Henley, the Bridgeport. I was just talking with my sales colleague and they only had one Hennessy available at the moment across three communities, which means they had all just sold and there was only one. So sometimes you're in the queue and you want one and you want it in a certain space, on a certain lot or a certain driveway orientation, and you have to wait. You have to kind of get in line and wait till they release some. They have plenty coming, as I told you, when you have 30 over here and waiting to come out of permits and get dug and 20 over here. It's just the time for them to get out and be released for you to sign the contract. One of the things I have found attractive for my buyers and my clients with DR Horton is how easy they make it to get into the house, because earnest money is generally $5,000. I actually have seen them drop it in some instances or during the pandemic and COVID period, but they make it easy. Buyers don't have to be cash flush to get into one of their homes. And then the next time you're putting money down is when you come to closing. And we all know that it's possible to get into a home with 3.5% down, 5% down. It does not take much to buy a home and move forward. I have clients who have a load of kids and they want to travel and they don't want to be house poor. And so while they were looking at different builders and being able to customize a home, they'd owned several homes and moved multiple times for jobs. They ultimately decided on a DR Horton home because of all the value with the financing incentive included, because DR Horton's buying down the rate. So here we are, we've just pushed into the high sixes, even into the sevens, and they're getting an incentive that has their rate locked down into the fives. My clients could not pass that up. They were like, are you kidding me? I can get a house that's the size I've been looking for. I can choose multiple locations to get the same floor plan. So do I want a large lot? Do I want to be more north? I can have minimal money down for earnest money. And I have just shifted my budget by X hundreds of dollars a month so we can continue to, go to Disney, go to the beach, XYZ. So that has been a game changer for several of my clients. All right, let's sum up the differences in the communities. You are generally going to pay more for a home in Crystal Valley Ranch for your price. However, you are absolutely going to be paying less for your property taxes on the long term. Crystal Valley Ranch is also going to generally give you the largest lot size out of the three communities, and they certainly deliver up in the amenities department because you get a clubhouse, a pool, and a fitness center. In the near term, I would say you're going to see a little less appreciation in home value in Crystal Valley Ranch because there are still builders building inside Crystal Valley Ranch, and once this interchange is in that I talked about, across on the other side of I-25, so on the west side, they're building an entirely new construction community. They're going to be putting in retail over there. That's where the Costco is going to go. People are really hoping for a Trader Joe's as well. But when we're putting in thousands of new homes that are essentially across the street, that tends to blunt appreciation and home growth for homes that are right nearby. So I would say there are areas where you could see your home value grow faster if that is important to you. In Trails at Crowfoot, you are definitely going to be farther north. It's the spot where you're most likely going to pay the least for your home. You are still going to have some amenities. You've got a pool. You've got a large park inside the community. If you're comparing all three communities, it does not have the highest property tax rate of all of them, though the HOA fees are the highest there. I think being more north has the potential to give you a boost for resale value just out of convenience sake, but there are plenty of people who work remote here in Colorado who care much more about the community and what is around them and the lifestyle. So I wouldn't bank too much on which home's going to net you the better resale value. I would pick much more for what your needs are today. Looking Glass skips out on amenities, gives you the lowest HOA, but packs a punch with those property tax rates. Prices there are middle of the road to upper, depending on what you get in terms of lot and home style, basement style. With this being the community that's newest and Looking Glass developing and being a community that I think is going to be known for having some nice views, I anticipate we're going to see a lift in home price, and this is going to be a community that is really elevated by what goes on moving forward. So I would expect to see a nice lift and rise in home prices out of this community long term. Overall, I think if you're looking for a home that is a great value, that has 4+ bedrooms, and you want it under $800,000 with the option to either be close to town or have some elbow room, and you're hoping for some amenities, and you really want some good financing incentives, because those can be hit or miss with the builders, you should absolutely at least be checking out the DR Horton options. I will tell you, DR Horton is going to assign you to the very first person you meet when you walk in. So if you want me to connect you with some of my favorite salespeople in the South Denver area, let me know. I would be happy to connect you. And if you want to chat more about new builds, different communities, just moving in and around Denver, please reach out. You know, I always love to connect, and I will see y'all next week.